Okay, let's talk about arrays or lists. So in JavaScript, we create an array with our bracket syntax. And in Python, it is pretty much exactly the same. In Python, arrays are commonly referred to as lists. So that is just a terminology thing we should be aware of. Okay, so if I print out the array or the list, we see the output is exactly what we expect. So this syntax is similar and we should be comfortable with that. So one thing we should be aware of is adding to an array. So in JavaScript, we push things to an array and we put in the thing we want to add to the end of an array, and that's fine. In Python, there is no push. It is called append. So instead of push, we are going to use append, and it accomplishes the same thing. How do we remove something at the end of an array? Well, in JavaScript, we use pop, and that is going to take out the last thing. Whoops. If we spell it correctly. Okay, and in Python, it is also pop. So that works out well for us. Okay. In JavaScript, all arrays have a length property so that we can know how many things are in the array. If we try to do that in Python, we'll get an error because there is no length property on lists. We need to do something slightly different. There is a built-in function, a global function called len, short for length. We use that and send in, or we call this and send in the array, and that will give us the length of the array, which is 5 in this case. Okay, how do we get stuff out of the array? Well, in JavaScript, we use the square brackets to specify the index of what we want to get out of there. Based on 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm getting the 5 out of there because it is in the 4th index. Well, what do we do in Python? Let's try the same way. Square brackets, the 4 index, and we get the same output. So in Python, it's exactly the same. Everything is 0 based, and you just use square brackets to specify the index of what you want to get out of there. Okay, so Python has a lot more flexibility than JavaScript. There's a lot more you can do with lists, and I'm not going to go over all of them, but I'm just going to point out one interesting thing. So in JavaScript, if we want to get a range of items, we use slice. So I'm going to say get the 0 index through the second, the 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3 index. Okay, and we use slice. So I get 1, 2, 3, the first 3 items from the array. Well, you could do that in Python also, but Python has a syntax that makes it a little bit easier to do this. You can get a range of indexes by just using the start and ending with a colon in between them. So I'm going to say get the 0 index up to the 2nd index, which is, it says 3, which means go to the 3rd index, but don't include the 3rd index. Okay, so it's the same thing as slice. We just don't have to type the word slice, so it makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so that would be up to you to experiment and explore the different things you can do with Python lists that you can't do with JavaScript. I'll leave that up to you.